The key story I wanted to cover today is I thought at this point AI pricing would be somewhat settled, but the rate of pricing changes is only increasing. There's examples that are kind of fresh in the papers from Microsoft, GitHub, ServiceNow, Salesforce, SAP, and more. Figured we could talk through these together.
You dropped some big names there, so I'm excited. I thought we were at first going to be talking about these smaller companies that are just inventing this product no one's seen before and also some kabuki pricing model. But I mean, you got me with the names, man. You got me with the headline.
We talked about the empire of SaaS strikes back, and we're seeing it play out in real time.
Kyle, up first, let's talk about Salesforce.
All right. Well, Salesforce, the big news here is Salesforce goes headless. They're making their MCP and API available to everyone. No seat required to use Salesforce, kind of saying that they're willing in some ways to kill their per seat business model.
I have a confession to make, but you have to promise not to make fun of me.
I won't tell anyone outside of this podcast.
What does headless mean? Because I've heard it multiple times and I just nod my head every single time.
Oh my God, I'm going to look so dumb trying to explain it. Here's my impression of headless. Like you've got the back end of software and then you've got the front end, like the user experience. And I think headless just means the back end can work in your own UI or other UIs. So you could use the Salesforce CRM, but like with Claude as your user interface.
Oh, I mean, I've heard it in the context of websites, like website designing. And I've also heard it in the context of even the new AI ERPs. Like it's a headless ERP, which I think essentially means, just from what you explained, that you're taking this financial data, but you're giving it to people in a different layout that feels more native to whatever application they're working in.
Exactly. So a lot of AI-based or API-based products would be headless products, especially if it's like integrated in another tool that's your system of record. Then you don't necessarily need to log in to the product you bought. You can just access it via API.
Well, another stupid question, isn't Salesforce like the most integrated API'd in product of all time even before this?
Well, they are. I mean, and they have a massive platform business, right? So they've become accustomed to recognizing people don't necessarily want to just use the Salesforce UI to access what they're doing. And I think that their bet is probably that the UI might actually move somewhat to Slack as more of a day-to-day operating system. And so in some ways, this kind of headless move, they want to capitalize it. They want to be early. They definitely don't want to like lose out to AI native companies. And there's maybe some benefits to be had from their positioning.
If you back up a second, what do you mean no seat required to use Salesforce? Because when I think of seat-based models, Salesforce, I think of first.
Right. And their core pricing is still going to be seat-based. And so they still clearly have a lot of seat-based revenue. We should say that. But I think that my understanding with their model is they're probably going to find ways to monetize when you ping their API to access it in other platforms. And so they're going to have seats as a bucket of revenue. They probably are going to bundle some sort of usage in with those seats, and then they're going to have usage-based revenue. But I think the big deal is you used to need to pay for not just your sales team to access Salesforce. So your sales team was going to be logging in regularly, like they were a core user for Salesforce. But then if the finance team wanted to access the reports in Salesforce, they had to get their own seat licenses, or the marketing team or the product team. I think now what it's doing is making it easier for you to only buy seats for the core users and probably not buy seats for all the other adjacent people.
Well, that's what I was getting at, because as a CFO, I looked at it, if it was a single year deal, you had this competitive period where you would go head to head to a Salesforce, and there were multiple types of licenses that you're trying to discount down. So say the license for the sales team and marketing team was 120. I'm like, can I get that down to $100 or $110? But then there was this other license that was for the people like me in finance. I still needed to be able to look at stuff. Maybe that one was 80 and I want to try to get that one down too. But it wasn't like one price fits all for these seats. So they must have done the math that said, we still want to have all this revenue from the sales high priced license seats, but we can actually make more off of people like CJ who are using this headless infrastructure to query the data on a per whatever it is, API or toll basis.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the math works out for them. My guess is they looked at the potential for consumption revenue from different use cases, and they must have been like, there's some real upside here. Like if I'm Salesforce, I'm going to want to make sure that the power users of their headless version are still paying at least like a similar price per seat as what someone would have paid before. So that'll be really interesting is like, yes, the headline is it's much more accessible, but what they're not going to talk about is how much extra they're going to be charging you for the consumption.
Yeah, because every year, at least twice per year, I would export whoever had a Salesforce license and I would look at how many times they logged in and I would kill off everybody who's under a certain threshold. What this does is it lowers the barrier where you don't have to buy them that license anymore. You're not killing them off. In fact, anyone can access it and they just get hit based on how much information they pull. So I think I understand where the upside is in that.
I think that's the idea, but I suspect the core sales folks that are logging opportunities, they need to integrate their email and, call data and all of that. Like, pretty sure those folks are still paying for seats, and that's the core of Salesforce's business model. Is just saying, hey, instead of like the seats being the primary store of value, we have two stores of value. We have seats and we have consumption.
Got it. Do you want to talk about Microsoft next, or did you have anything else on our friends at Salesforce?
Let's talk about Microsoft. And so their move is actually oddly similar to Salesforce. So Microsoft recently had an earnings call, and Satya Nadella, their CEO, had some pretty interesting quotes in the earnings call. One of the things he said was that every per user business will become a per user and usage business. So that's kind of like what Salesforce is saying with their headless MCP announcement.
You didn't put enough emphasis on the and. It's a per user and usage business, Kyle.
Right. So it's like the per user in his mind is not going away. It's
Yeah.
just that there's more of it's a hybrid model with multiple revenue streams. So he did go on to say the seat-based pricing is just entitlement to some consumption. There are some base usage rights that get bundled in or packaged into seats. And so his kind of notion is like the seat's basically just saying, hey, you're used to buying per seat. You're going to get a certain amount of usage included in that seat, and then you can pay more for additional usage. The value isn't necessarily in the seat, it's in the consumption, but we're still going to keep a seat fee because you're really used to paying for it, and that gives them a floor on how much you're going to spend.
I read it as you have to buy the seat, but you kind of get jack shit for it. And if you want all the other cool stuff, we're going to hit you with the usage-based fee.
I mean, they're bundling in some usage, but yeah, I mean, I don't know how generous they're going to be with with that included usage.
It's just your ticket to get into the show, Kyle. After that, you got to pay for all the beers. You may not even be able to get to hear the main band perform. You got to pay extra for that.
Well, I mean, access to the show, get to listen to the show. It's not like they're saying, hey, you can pay for a ticket to the show and then you pay per song you listen to while you're there. But a couple of interesting things with this announcement. So they moved GitHub Copilot to a usage-based model effective June 1st. So this is one of their ways to say, hey, they're being aggressive about the shift. Satya also said 60% of their Dynamics 365 customer service customers are already buying usage-based credits, and that Copilot credit consumption was up nearly 2x quarter on quarter. So they're really saying not only is this shift happening, they're trying to make it clear that they're already, driving this transformation. Like this isn't new. They're going to see continued growth as usage increases.
All right, quick quiz here. What do you think GitHub makes in revenue per year, that business unit?
Ooh, GitHub. I don't know, a couple billion, 2 billion.
Did you look that up? Yeah, it's 2 billion.
I didn't. I just know Cursor's a couple billion, so I think
Yeah.
it is probably similar.
All right, what about GitLab, standalone publicly traded company?
Probably about the same, right?
Half. They're just under 1 billion. So I always have to remind myself how big GitHub is inside of Microsoft.
Yeah, that's pretty massive at this point. What did Microsoft pay for them?
They paid 7 billion for them back in 2018, I think. Yeah.
All right, so they've recouped their investment there, especially on continued growth. This trend of saying, hey, the seat is now basically a license to AI consumption. This trend is really increasing. So I have been surveying over 200 companies for my upcoming State of B2B Monetization report. And interestingly, 29% now say they have some form of AI credits or tokens, which, this is up really substantially over the last year. We've talked about it, with companies like Figma, a bunch of others launching AI credits in the last year. So 29% now have credits. But the interesting thing for me was that 34% said that they plan to introduce AI credits within the next 6 to 12 months. So this trend, like, we're actually still in the early innings relative to where things are going. When I looked to set up my first CRM at Growth Unhinged, I knew I wanted something that was actually AI first. The world has evolved. Most CRMs are still stuck in the 90s. I found Lightfield, the CRM that remembers everything and does the work for you. It joins all my sales calls, reads my emails, and has the full context on every account. At this point, Lightfield knows my deals better than I do. I haven't had to set up a single CRM dashboard. Instead, I simply ask Lightfield questions like, which deals in my pipeline are most likely to close, or who do I need to follow up with today? It even automatically prepares me for meetings with a personalized daily briefing, and setup was quick and surprisingly painless. Lightfield is my sales coach, RevOps analyst, therapist, EA, all in one. See Lightfield for yourself with a 14-day free trial. Connecting data from your inbox takes just 5 minutes, and you can migrate in under an hour. Go to lightfield.app, that's lightfield.app, and use code MOSTLYGROWTH to get 3 months free.